My name is Maggie Braun, Ward 4.
Thank you very much.
Back on behalf of an increasing number of concerned constituents of Peterborough, and we are here to object to the committee's approval of report IPS ACP 23-028, as well as the declaration of climate change emergency for Peterborough. We find that the declaration and this report are based on the unsubstantiated premise that greenhouse gas emissions, particularly CO2, the gas that we're currently exhaling and that plants absorb, and a gas that is produced by affordable heat and energy sources is dangerous. That is the premise of climate change. The report fails to justify with any scientific evidence the public expenditures for collecting corporate sector greenhouse gas emission data. And I note that all these reports state that there is no budgetary or financial implications associated with them, but the city staff named on these reports all receive a salary that is worthy of the sunshine list for Peterborough. That's a pretty hefty salary. So these reports are being paid for by the people of Peterborough, and the collection of this data is certainly not free. The purpose of this delegation is to satisfy to the people of Peterborough that this council possesses the scientific knowledge and understanding to competently make decisions on behalf of Peterborough regarding the supposed climate crisis. This is a question of public confidence in our elected representatives. If you look outside the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, ICLEI, the United Nations, and the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, all unelected international organizations, you will find dozens, if not hundreds, of credible scientific organizations and independent scientists who study climate change and produce peer-reviewed studies on a regular basis. In August, this August, the Climate Intelligence Group released this August, a World Climate Declaration that there is no climate change emergency, and it was signed by 1,609 scientists who study environmental science. And all their names are there, and you can look at their studies. There are thousands of highly intelligent people in Peterborough and across Canada and across the world, and the internet provides a vast resource of human knowledge. Countless peer-reviewed studies challenge the premise of a climate change crisis, I should say, and its alleged threats. One study found that the optimum level of atmospheric CO2 for plant growth ranges from 600 to 1,500 parts per million. These levels represent the best industry standards practiced for greenhouse growers. They are much higher than outdoor CO2 levels of approximately 415 parts per million. I hope you follow that. Other studies find that increased atmospheric CO2 levels lead to increased moisture in forest soil. Proponents of the climate change theory often attribute man-made CO2 emissions to be the cause of environmental threats such as forest fires. If CO2 increased in the atmosphere creates moist soil in the forest, it can't be the cause of forest fires. So I would like the one question, and I called the clerk today and they said that you don't have to answer our questions, which I find very strange. I would like, if you answer any question tonight, please answer this one. Will the mayor or any member of this council answer the following question with citations from published scientific papers and provide the data collected by the researchers? The question is, if the rising of atmospheric CO2 levels above the current level of 415 parts per million are alleged to cause forest fires, please describe the mechanism of action at the molecular level and explain why greenhouse greenhouses do not burst into flames when CO2 exceeds 600
Ms. Braun,
or even
you have 1
1,500
minute.
parts per million.
1 minute, please.
Further to that, Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the UN, made the statement saying that we are entering an era of global boiling. If this is true, then why does a pot not boil in a greenhouse when it goes above 600 parts per million? This is an outrageous statement, and why should we trust leaders from unelected organizations who make outrageous statements such as this? Thirdly, energy security and affordable energy is a matter that affects 100% of your constituents. While some proponents of the climate change crisis believe that this is a crisis, and international organizations like 350.org organize protests in our local town that the Peterborough Examiner promote, it doesn't negate that is not a natural grassroots movement, and it does not negate the local needs of energy security for 100% of your constituents here. So with this in mind, what we are asking is that the council and mayor step into your true authority and take control of the city corporation, which it doesn't appear that you're doing, and revoke the declaration of climate change for Peterborough, spend no additional time, money, or resources on future submissions to council related to climate change until you answer the most basic questions.
Ms. Braun,
I have one more comment.
Okay.
Demand the highest possible standards of proof when climate change topics arise. In other words, reject climate change as a magical phrase that must be automatically command your serious attention, consideration, and our money, and commit to prioritizing our energy security above all else whenever climate change proposals are presented. And again, if you could answer the one question about CO2 affecting and provide the documentation, because you can't find it. CO2 does not create forest fires, and we have a lot more scientific evidence that we would like to share with you outside of international organizations and the narrative they're presenting.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I did give you some latitude. Are there questions? Are there questions for Ms. Braun, please? Question for Ms. Braun. Thank you very much for your presentation. Bullock to come forward, please. Mark.